What's up guys, I'm Nick of Camera Crunch, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about camera bags. Now I won't be talking about any specific brands or specific models apart from the ones that I have here with me, but I am going to link a bunch of camera bags in the description box down below. These are camera bags that I've tried and recommend to you guys. There are also going to be camera bags down there that I haven't necessarily tried, but I've done my research and these are camera bags that a lot of people all around the web recommend. So you guys can check those out after watching this video. So the purpose of this video is to help you guys choose out maybe your first camera bag, or maybe you're thinking of changing your camera bag or adding another one to the collection. These are some of the things that you want to consider when choosing the specific one that you're going to get. So in this video I'm going to talk about 5 different things. The first one will be what you intend to use the camera bag for, and this will sort of trickle down to all of the rest of the points, because the next one will be the different types of camera bags. After that, we'll go through the sizes of camera bags, features, and then we'll go through the price of the camera bag. So those are the things that we'll be talking about today. So the first thing you need to consider is what your camera bag is going to be used for, because a lot of people will sometimes buy a camera bag maybe because they see it on the recommended page when you're buying it through Amazon or something like that, or maybe it comes as a bundle with your camera. But really, there are many different types of camera bags, and depending on what you intend to use this camera bag for, you'll want a different camera bag. For example, there are camera bags that are good for transporting your camera from point A to point B, but it's not really a good camera bag for, you know, going around the city and shooting with your camera and constantly putting your camera in the bag and out of the bag and switching lenses and that sort of stuff. So before we go on, just write that down on a piece of paper or keep that as a mental note, because you're going to need that as we go through these next points. So the second point is going to be what type of camera bag you want. So going back to the first point, first you need to really understand what you're going to be using this camera for to determine what type of camera bag you'll want. So there are 2 types of camera bags that are really popular. There's the backpack and there's the shoulder type bag or messenger bag type camera bag. And these are really the 2 main camera bags that most of you will be considering. And I actually have 2 right here. My main camera bag is actually a shoulder bag. It's the Domkey F2. And then I have an old Lowepro backpack here in the back. This was actually my first bag when I bought my first camera, the Nikon D80, way back in the day. So I had a D80 and a couple lenses, so that was the bag that I used for it and all its accessories. So when you're considering a bag and you're choosing between the shoulder bag and the backpack, there's really sort of one rule that I like to keep for myself, and that is, if I'm going to be carrying a lot of gear, then the shoulder bag isn't the choice to get. So I use the shoulder bag. It can fit 1 camera, depending on the size you can fit more, and then approximately 4 lenses. You have this pouch with 4 slots, but you can keep a flash and all that stuff in there. But once I fill this bag up with things in all the slots, like 4 lenses and 1 or 2 cameras, it gets pretty heavy. And at that point, this camera bag becomes uncomfortable when you just keep it around your shoulder or even sling it around you. So what I like doing when I use this camera bag is I do keep my camera in here, but I won't fill it up. I'll put maybe 2 lenses at most, maybe a lens and a flash, and I'll leave it at that. I'll fill it up if I absolutely have to, but other than that, I don't typically fill this bag up. So I could actually do with a slightly smaller bag than this, because this is my everyday camera bag, the camera that I take out with me. Sometimes if I'm going somewhere, I'll use it as a day bag and have my camera in there, so I'll fill it up with all sorts of other stuff. So if you want a camera bag that is more of a bag that you take with you and you're taking your camera in and out and changing lenses quickly as you go about in a new city, something like that, or when you're traveling, the shoulder bag is ideal. But again, you do not want to fill up a shoulder bag because it can get very, very uncomfortable. Now the backpack is also a nice option, but I like thinking of the backpack as more of a way to transport large amounts of equipment, or even even your small amounts. But I don't really see the backpack as a good way to carry around equipment while you're shooting. So you might have your camera around you, and you might have your backpack in your on your back. But if you want to change a lens, for example, you're going to have to take that backpack off, open it up, unzip, change your lenses, zip it back, and then put it back in your backpack. That's a little bit more time consuming and sort of disruptive when you're taking photos than it is with a shoulder bag. So my rule is, if you're transporting large amounts of gear, take the backpack. And if you're using a bag to be your sort of daily bag, your daily shooter, get the shoulder bag. So this point, the second point of the different styles, leads me into the third point, which is the size of the bag. Don't go too big. A lot of people will buy a bigger camera bag even though they might have only one camera and one lens, sort of in anticipation for when they buy their new gear. But I think that you should really go back to the first and second point. Just think about your uses and let that dictate the size of what camera bag you want to use. And I've learned that through experience. For example, this Domkey F2, like I said previously, it's a good size. It's not too big. But as a shoulder bag, if I fill it up, then it gets a little bit too heavy. And this has really taught me not to fill my camera bag up, because I don't use all the gear anyway. So if I had to go back and choose a different bag to replace this, even though I love this and it's good for those times where I do need to put a little bit more things in here and carry a little bit more and I don't want to take the backpack, it's good. But if I could go back, I'd go one size smaller so that I could fit maybe one camera, one lens, and then one camera with lens and then an extra lens and some accessories and a notebook and that sort of stuff. That would be the perfect bag to take around with me, because I typically only shoot with a maximum of 2 lenses. I'll have one on the camera and then have one to switch out. So really just go for the bag that fits the appropriate amount of gear, or the right amount of gear that you actually use from a day-to-day basis. And the gear that doesn't fit, if you want to store that, just store it at home in a closet, in a dry place, something like that, and you don't need to store it in a camera bag. Now, if you do want that bigger camera bag to store everything and to transport everything, again, just go with enough space to fit all your gear and everything that you want to transport, and that would ideally be more of a backpack style camera bag. Unless you get one of those big duffel bags just for transporting, it's not really good for traveling and walking around and doing that sort of stuff. So just get the appropriate size to transport all your equipment. So after you go through the style of camera bag and you go through the size of the camera bag, you want to look at some of the different features that you have in the camera bag. So if you get a simple shoulder bag like this, some of the features you might want to look at are whether it has a flap that covers it or whether it's a zip, whether it's Velcro or whether there are clips that attach the cover to the bag, or the method in which you open it, because that can make a big difference. For example, if you're a wedding shooter and you have one of these bags, you typically don't want to use Velcro, because whenever you open and close the bag, it's going to make a loud noise as you do that. You might also not want a loud zipper, so you might want one with just one of these flaps. Now this does have Velcro, so it will make a little bit of sound, but you can keep this open and it will make a sound. So depending on what your uses are, you might want a different style of opening and closing the camera bag. Another feature you might want to look at are these inserts, these dividers that you can put your lens into, that sort of stuff. These can make a big difference. So depending on how much gear you want to carry, depending on what size of gear you want to carry, you'll want to look at the different inserts that are there inside the bag. Other features, the strap, you want to look at the material. This one is more of a nylon texture and it has the grippy surface here. If this isn't comfortable, you might want to look for something with a little bit more padding, especially if you're carrying a lot of gear. You'll also want to look at the material. So this is a canvas material. It's a waxed canvas actually, but I do not re-wax this because you do feel the wax on it. It does come with wax when you buy it. But when I do apply that wax nice and generously, this becomes weatherproof, rainproof. So it can rain and the water will just slip off the top. A lot of these camera bags are also weatherproof, but not all of them are weatherproof. So that's another feature that you'll want to look at. These are some of the things that you want to consider. With a shoulder bag, your features are a little bit more limited. It's more of like the dividers and pouches and that sort of stuff. But when you go into backpacks, you get more features. You get features like a slot to hold a tripod, sometimes a bigger tripod, sometimes a smaller tripod. You'll want to look at that because if you're doing hiking, you're doing landscape photography, you might want that extra slot for a tripod rather than carrying it with you all around. So those are just some of the things that you'll want to consider when looking for your first bag. So last but not the least is the price of the camera bag, because there's a big range of camera bag prices out there. You can get a camera bag for $20, you can get a camera bag for $200 plus. This one is a little bit over $100, I believe, this Dom Kiev 2. I don't quite remember. This backpack was probably, when I bought it, was probably in the $100 range as well. So here are the things to consider when buying a backpack or a camera bag in general. I really think that you should invest in something that you like and that you're happy with. A camera bag is something that sticks with you sometimes throughout your whole photography career. And so not only do you want it to be a very durable camera bag, one that has all the features that you need, you want it to be a camera bag that you like using, that you're happy with, especially if it's a camera bag that you end up carrying every single day with you. Like this one, I carry this a lot. Sometimes when I'm not, sometimes I don't even put a camera in here, or I'll put one camera and no lenses, and I'll put a lot of other stuff in it. But this is a camera bag that I really like looking at, I really like carrying, I really like the feel of it, and it costs a little bit more. I probably did not need to spend this much on a camera bag, but just think about the amount of time you'll be spending with your camera bag. So here's one way to think about it. If you don't really care about the looks of a camera bag, or you don't really have a camera bag that you really like, you're just going for the features and the uses, then just spend the bare minimum that you have to get all the features and all the everything that you want out of the camera bag. So depending on the size, you'll spend maybe $20 to $100, maybe $200 if you're getting a really big bag. But if you're someone like me who, I like getting specific bags, sometimes the way a bag looks, I know this sounds kind of shallow, but sometimes the way the bag looks affects the way I feel about the bag and the amount that I'll be able to use the bag, or I'll want to use the bag. So if you're someone like me, then I suggest saving up for that camera bag that you really want, no matter how much it costs, because again, the camera bag is something that, one, it protects your camera, and two, it can last you a lifetime if you choose one that you really love and one that's durable enough. Now, if you can't afford the one that you want just yet, then again, I would go for that bare minimum that you need to get by until you can save up for the one that you really want. So those are the 5 things that I would consider when buying my first camera bag, or a camera bag that I'd like to add on to my collection of camera bags. The first one being the uses of the camera bag that you're trying to get. Next would be the type or the style of camera bag. Then the size, then the features, and lastly, the price. I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, definitely give this video a thumbs up down below. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you guys in the next video.